Honorable members, Madam Speaker.
Prayer. Almighty God, who in giving and prudential goodness have appointed us leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society, just government of humanity, we beseech you to look upon with the abundant favor of these your servants, whom you've been pleased to call the performance of such important trust in this land. Let your blessings send upon you assembled and grant that the may as in your presence, fit and consider all matter that shall come under their deliberation, is so just and fully manner to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the good of those whose interests you have committed to your charge.
Item 2, communication from the chair.
Honorable members, I wish to welcome you to this special sitting. Honorable members, I wish to welcome you to this special sitting today. It is rather on a sad moment that we are sitting this afternoon to pay tribute to a distinguished son of the soil, a Supreme Court judge, that is Justice Rubby Opio Aweri, who breathed his last on Wednesday 7th, 2022. This special sitting is pursuant to section 23 and the third schedule of administration of the Judiciary Act 2020. Death has indeed robbed this country and taking such a reputable person of Justice Rubby Aweri. Justice Rubby Aweri, whose honor we are gathered here today, was a jurist par excellence and a man of boundless intellect. Through his selfless and dedicated service in judiciary that spanned for 4 decades, Justice Rubby Aweri Opio was committed to dispensation of justice. And you know, justice delayed is justice denied. Justice Opio would never delay with the cases, would never have a backlog. And that was the person that is going to lay here today. I urge the members to emulate the dedication that the judge had, the humility, the selflessness of Justice Opio Aweri. Personally, I knew Justice Opio when he was a resident judge in Gulu and I was working in Centenary. He used to be a parent to all of us. He would call all of us and he would talk to us. We had a fraternity of the non-actual people living in Gulu, and he was one of them. And he would be educating us on how we should live our lives. I can actually, and by then, Chairman Mao was a chairman of the district. I can actually say that some of us have been made by Justice Opio Aweri. Great nations are built on the sweat and values that Justice Opio has showed this country. As leaders of this country, we owe each humanity to live our societies better than the way we got it. I can be a testimony today that Justice Opio has left society better than the way he got it. He has left judiciary better than he got it. And indeed, we must emulate him for his contribution to humanity, to our country, and to judiciary. On behalf of legislature and on my own behalf, I want to pass our condolence to the family, and we pray that may the good Lord comfort the family at this trying period. Justice Aweri has fought a good fight and he has won it. He has left a legacy that will be remembered forever. And as Parliament, we condone with you. Honorable members, after this special sitting, the body is going to lay in state and depart tomorrow morning. So the body will be here, and I request the members to be kind enough to stay around, and we stay with the family. We support the Lango Parliamentary Group. We support the Ugandans, and we support the judiciary. At an appropriate time, we will be calling you to lay your wreath, and we'll be introducing the family members who are around, and the family of judiciary that is here will be introducing them. We'll give this, it's only one item on the order paper, and you'll ask the Prime Minister. We want to thank you so much for coming and being there for the family and for Uganda and for judiciary. The Prime Minister will be moving the motion to that effect. And the Chief Justice, who is the head of judiciary, is around. He's just sitting next to me. I invoked Rule 8 to have him sit inside the chambers. Having been a member of Parliament, having been a person who saw me in as a speaker, and having been a person who is leading the other arm of government, we condone with you, Chief Justice, and we thank you so much for coming to Parliament, and we will always work together as Parliament and judiciary plus executive. Honorable members will raise up to receive the body that will be entering in anytime. Please rise up.
Members remain standing for the national anthems. Members may resume your seats. Laying of wreaths. The Right Honorable Speaker. The Right Honorable Prime Minister, Leader of Government Business. The Government Chief Whip. The Leader of the Opposition. Honorable Tony Ayo, Lao Regional Whip. Lao Parliamentary Group. The Chief Opposition Whip. The UPC whip. The Democratic Party whip. The DP whip. DP whip.
Honorable Mao, can you lay the wreath? Honorable Mao? Thank you so much, Chairman DP. Thank you.
Motion for a resolution of Parliament to pay tribute to the late Justice Rubby Opio Aweri, Supreme Court Judge, pursuant to Schedule 3 of the Administration of the Judiciary Act 2020.
Honorable members, as I said before, the special sitting is pursuant to Section 23 of Administration of Judiciary Act. We have a motion by the Prime Minister that she's going to bring. But before the Prime Minister comes in the chambers this afternoon, we have the Chief Justice of Uganda, His Lordship, Alphonse Owiny-Dollo. He has come to join Parliament in paying tribute to the late Justice Rubby Opio Aweri. Kindly join me in welcoming him. We also have Lady Justice Abinyo Susan from the Commercial Court. You're most welcome, Susan. She has come to join Parliament in paying tribute to the late Rubby. We have the immediate family of the late Justice Rubby Opio Aweri, who are seated behind in the technical bench this afternoon. We have Mrs. Aweri Susan Achen. Kindly stand up for recognition. We have Miss Mary Alobo. Welcome. We have His Worship Obong George, a son to the late. We have Engineer Alan Okodi. Welcome. We have His Worship Okem Solomon. Welcome. We have Miss Naomi Amuge. Welcome. We have Zila Anna Apio. Welcome. And then we have Miss Angela Achola. You're almost welcome. They have come to join the proceedings when we are paying tribute to the gallant son of the soil. And join me in welcoming them to this august house. Honorable Prime Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, I move under Rule 56 of our Rules of Procedure to move a motion for a resolution of Parliament to pay tribute to the late Honorable Justice Rubby Opio Aweri, Justice of the Supreme Court. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, whereas the Parliament of Uganda received with deep sorrow news of the untimely death of Honorable Justice Rubby Opio Aweri, Justice of the Supreme Court of Uganda, which occurred on 7th December 2022. Aware that Section 23 and Schedule 3 of the Administration of Judiciary Act 2020 requires Parliament to pay tribute to a justice of the Supreme Court who dies while holding that office. Recognizing that the late Justice Rubby Opio Aweri had an impeccable career as a judicial officer and served the bench with boundless dedication, utmost humility, and commitment for nearly 4 decades. Noting that besides executing his judicial duties, Justice Rubby Opio Aweri also served in several other capacities in the service of the community and the country. Appreciating that Justice Rubby Opio Aweri has meticulously served his country with devotion, and his commitment to the judicial oath greatly contributed to the strengthening of the judicial independence and the judiciary's adherence to the norms, values, and aspirations of the people of Uganda. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Parliament of Uganda collectively conveys its deepest condolences to the bereaved family, the judiciary, the legal fraternity, friends, and the nation as a whole upon the loss of this celebrated son of Uganda, and appreciates the distinguished service rendered and the contribution made by Justice Rubby Opio Aweri to Uganda's legal jurisprudence and the academia. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you so much, Prime Minister. Is the motion seconded? Seconded by Honorable both. Honorable Muhosi, Honorable Attorney General, Honorable Bahati, Government Chief Whip, Leader of Government Business, Honorable Segona, Honorable Elijah Whopper, Leader of Opposition, Whip of DP, Honorable Mao, Chairman of DP, by the whole House. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, on Wednesday, 7th December this year, we received the sad news of the death of Justice Opio Aweri, Justice of the Supreme Court of Uganda. Right Honorable Speaker, Justice Rubby Opio Aweri was born on 31st May 1953 in Kachong Village, Agwata Sub-County, Dokoro County, Lira District. He attended Kachong Primary School and Agwata Primary School from 1960 to 1969. 1973, Right Honorable Speaker, he sat for the East Africa Certificate of Education at Lango College in Lira District. 1977, Justice Rubby Opio Aweri sat for East African Advanced Certificate of Education at Dr. Obote College, Boroboro in Lira District. On 8th October 1981, Justice Rubby Opio Aweri was awarded the Bachelor of Legal Laws at Makerere University. On 31st January 1983, he was awarded a postgraduate in legal practice from Law Development Center. He later acquired a master's degree in environmental law from Makerere University. Honorable Speaker and colleagues, Justice Rubby Opio Aweri had an illustrious professional. 1982 to 1983, he was a legal assistant in Engwao and Company Advocates. 1983, he was appointed acting magistrate grade 1. On 7th October 1999, he was confirmed in service as grade 1 magistrate. On 13th August 1991, he was confirmed as a senior principal magistrate grade 1. On 31st August 1993, he was confirmed as chief magistrate. On 27th October 1999, Justice Opio Aweri was appointed judge of the High Court. On 4th July 2013, he was appointed Justice of the Court of Appeal. On 13th October 2015, Justice Rubby Opio Aweri was appointed Justice of the Supreme Court of Uganda. On 3rd August 2017, he was appointed Chief Inspector of Courts. On 28th September 2022, he was reappointed Chief Inspector of Courts. On 30th March 2021, he was appointed member of the First Judicial Council. On 10th August 2022, Justice Rubby Opio Aweri wrote notice of retirement to Honorable the Chief Justice. His expected date of retirement was 31st May 2023. That is next year. And colleagues, given his busy schedule, Justice Rubby Opio Aweri served the country in various positions. The Treasurer of Uganda Magistrate Association, Deputy Diocesan Chancellor, Lango Diocese, Vice Chairperson, Board of Governors, Dr. Obote College, Boroboro, Board Chairperson, Amach Secondary School, Member of Board of Governors, Agwata Secondary School, part-time lecturer and examiner, Business Law, Uganda College of Commerce, Aduku, examiner, that is Oros, Law Development Center, Chancellor, Uganda Pentecostal University. Honorable Speaker and colleagues, Justice Aweri has been described by many as a great, towering legal mind who served the bench with boundless dedication, utmost humility, and commitment for nearly 4 decades. There is no doubt Uganda will miss his noble service. Honorable Speaker, Justice Aweri had major interest in law and practice, civil litigation, criminal law, environmental law, and management. The late Justice Rubby Opio Aweri was a true legal professional who dedicated his life to the judiciary. I wish, Right Honorable Speaker, to extend my sincere sympathies and condolences to the family, friends, and the entire judiciary fraternity upon this great loss. May the soul of Justice Rubby Opio Aweri rest in perfect peace. Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you so much, Prime Minister. Right Honorable Nabanja Robina. Can we have the second leader of opposition? Honorable Mpuga Matthias.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise to second the motion moved by my honorable colleague and sister, the Prime Minister of the Republic, in paying tribute to this gallant son of Uganda. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, death is without invitation. At the main cemetery of Masaka Diocese, at the seminary cemetery, there's a small signpost written in Latin, Memento Mori, to mean, remember, you must die. It's not a probability. Remind you that there's no discussion with death. Right Honorable Speaker, the task to pay tribute to the late Honorable Justice Rubby Opio Aweri is a challenging one, as I have personally been associated with him in cases close to the heart of many issues unresolved in our time. It is true that he was expressively positioned in both the age limit case and the Honorable Chagulanyi presidential election petition, in which myself and colleagues across Parliament had vested interest. At the same time, his tour of duty as a career judge bears significant accomplishments to enumerate. Notable among them, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, are the cases for which will be remembered: Uganda versus Dr. Aweri Chinja and two others, Criminal Section 30 of 206, the famous Mwanga Kivumbi versus the Attorney General, Constitutional Appeal number 6 of 2011, that set aside the assumed powers of the police in public gatherings. That was remarkable in our jurisprudence, Right Honorable Speaker. I take cognizance of the fact that the Honorable Justice Rubby Opio Aweri career as a judge goes beyond the sum of his court decisions. It is rather that his tenure on the bench occurred in challenging times when the call to do justice is a tall order. Yet he has held himself fairly well. In all, Right Honorable Speaker, he represents a generation of judges who have lived and worked through the times leading to the current unsettled debate on the rule of law. For the period I've known and seen him, he had no criminal record known to me and those close to me. The country has lost a well-balanced human and a decent servant of the country. That he opted to join the judiciary early in 1983 as grade 1 magistrate, and rising through the ranks to justice of the Supreme Court is an attestation to his dedicated career as a public servant. This, of course, in light of the fact that he had the option of pursuing more lucrative prospects in private practice. To this end, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, I wish to extend my condolences with the family, the rest of the country, for the loss of this dear son. I'd like to extend the same sympathies to the Lang community, to the Supreme Court, and the entire judiciary for this loss. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, I take the liberty as we celebrate his life to appraise the House and invite us to reflect upon the courts of law and their attendant mandate in the administration of justice, which has been inhibited by all standards as shown in a number of circumstances. Let me make two brief inferences, Right Honorable Speaker. Despite operating as to an extent beyond our eyes and reach, the unprecedented intrusion by the executive into the work of the judiciary should be a concern to all of us. Right Honorable Speaker, we are all alive to cases when during broad daylight, courts have casually been stormed by the military with a view of overturning the findings of court. Without, of course, shame, suspects have been rearrested on a number of occasions on the same set of facts after being released by court on bail. Of course, we are all aware, Right Honorable Speaker, the case of our two honorable colleagues, the Honorable Segilinya and the Honorable Sewanyana, who were rearrested. I am making reference to unabated, unchecked state interference in the work of the judiciary that once portrayed the judiciary as incapable of executing their independent mandate, Right Honorable Speaker. In other cases, the state operatives have interfered with and frustrated the conduct of cases before court. I will make reference to a case in issue where I was involved directly, the one of Honorable Chairgoing Robert versus Aweri Kaguta Museveni, General, election petition number 1 of 2021. In this petition, Right Honorable Speaker, my party president was challenging the outcome of the 2021 election. It should be recalled that at the time of filing his petition and adducing evidence, regime operatives subjected him to house arrest, which was of course illegal, seized and locked up NUP offices where evidence was being kept, and also arrested key witnesses. Therefore, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, among other reasons, it apparently became impossible for this case to be pursued in court. This is an indictment on the judiciary to always rise to the occasion and ward off human rights violations in the course of dispensation of justice, since it is an exercise in futility to call on the regime to restrain itself on such conduct. The regime is unstoppable. The judiciary must rise to the occasion and stop it. We understand the impediments, but they must strongly rise and stop it. Right Honorable Speaker, we're also aware that judiciary has challenges, and the beauty in this debate is that the Honorable Chief Justice is with us here. He will take note and heed. We are very concerned when the judiciary has or is muddled with internal bickering. Of course, we are aware that it is also a space for humans. My charge will look to the courts to redress and remedy the dirt from the linen of the internal conflicts that currently bedevil the judiciary involving so many cadres has disfigured the expectation of the quality of justice. We are also alive to the pending constitutional petition logged by one of the justices of the Supreme Court, challenging the actions and the conduct of the Chief Justice, the Permanent Secretary to the Judiciary, the Chief Registrar of Courts.
Leader of opposition, I think you're going overboard. We are here to pay tribute to the person lying before us. We are not talking about the conduct of judiciary. We are looking at the good deeds of Rubby. And at one time, I moved with the Honorable Bua. We accidentally passed where there was a cemetery. And in that cemetery, there was a writing, like you have said, that we used to be like you and you'll be like me. Let's now talk about a person who has died. Let's leave the issues of judiciary. If we want judiciary, we know where to get them. And Chief Justice is here as my guest. Issues in his house, that's for him to handle. For now, let's pay tribute to Just Rubby. Put yourself put yourself as if you are the son, the mother, the wife of the late that we are talking about.
Thank you for your
We'll have
guidance.
space to discuss about judiciary. We'll also discuss about legislature. Let's not look at outside. Let's also look at ourselves.
Thank you for your guidance, Right Honorable Speaker. I have made very kind observations of the late, and I continue to do so. I'm a very sensitive human, and I would never attack the dead at any one moment.
And that's what I know of you as a very...
Certainly. But in these kind of moments, Right Honorable Speaker, we talk about the living and the duty of the living, because we have a duty to preserve the sanctity and dignity of the departed. I'm very alive to that, Right Honorable Speaker. I take your guidance very seriously, and I'm very restricted, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, as I try to wind up, we are alive to the fact that the late served with exception and distinction, and I'm aware is one of the few that had very little backlog. That for me is an exception. Right Honorable Speaker, well, as we know the causes of case backlog, we also want to invite the judiciary to be alive to the concerns of the citizens when it comes to executing their mandate. One of my proudest moments, Right Honorable Speaker, in the 10th Parliament is the time we considered the administration of the Judiciary Bill, now Act. Of course, it had pended for several years. We worked tirelessly to have it passed to give the judiciary more independence, to be able to execute their mandate. Of course, they need more. They need more resources. We need more judges. We need more magistrates. We want to invite the successor to the honorable departed gentleman to even do more. Probably the courts need more closer scrutiny, the lower courts especially, where backlog starts from, to make sure that the work of the judiciary, for which we expect nothing but output, is executed without fear or favor. Right Honorable Speaker, the expectation of the citizens from the judiciary are not different from the expectations of their parliament, because they subscribe to these institutions by way of the taxes they pay. And therefore, we must speak to their expectations, including their frustrations. Right Honorable Speaker, I represent more than 5 million people when I speak here on the floor of Parliament that voted the opposition, and nobody can speak for them on matters here that nobody can speak about. Therefore, when sometimes I rub people the wrong way, it's because I represent 5 or plus million people, Right Honorable Speaker, and must be understood in that context, Right Honorable Speaker. I do not know, for example, who will speak for a Honorable Segiri in Oswanyan in prison, where the judiciary is reluctant or casual in handling their matter, Right Honorable Speaker. I do not know who will speak for the so many human rights people whose rights have been abused, and the judiciary has received these people whose rights have been violated without calling on to order those violating them. On these kind of moments, we call out for the judiciary to be alive.
Are we
Only
on the same page of paying tribute?
Yes. The only way we can honor a gentleman, a servant of this country in his name, is to rise up to the occasion and perform better, even much more than he did. Probably we are more equipped now than his generation to perform better, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to once again condole with the family and the judiciary for this great loss. May the soul of this son of Uganda rest in eternity. I thank you.
Honorable members, I request we have a non-partisan debate, and let's pay tribute to our elder, to the person who has left a legacy behind. Any fault of judiciary is not a fault of Rubby. Judiciary is not Rubby. And actually, if there's anybody to be blamed for the Segrinyas and who, it shouldn't be judiciary, it should be the Honorable Mao. Honorable Mao, we want those people in court. Honorable Zijan, the Dean of Independence, seconder.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise to second the motion, the resolution of Parliament to pay tribute to the late Justice Rubby Opio Aweri, Justice of the Supreme Court of Uganda, pursuant to Schedule 3 of the Administration of the Judiciary Act of 2020. Right Honorable Speaker, I'd like to thank you for your continued acknowledgement of the independent members in this House as a distinct shade of opinion, and for granting us the opportunity to second the motion on the floor to eulogize the fallen great towering legal mind before us today. Right Honorable Speaker, it has been said, and truly so, that the longest distance on earth is 13 inches from the center of the brain to the center of the heart. Many people know with their heads, but their hearts don't know what their heads know. That's why you find many professionals in this country, but who exude a lot of brutality against their own citizens. In their heads, they know, but in their hearts, they don't. They lack empathy. Judge Aweri knew with both. He knew with his head and also with his heart. He dispensed justice with empathy, humility, and integrity. He interpreted the law and used it in its instrumentality as opposed to the instrumentalization of the law. He used the law as a tool of correction and not a tool of persecution and or oppression. Right Honorable Speaker, this afternoon, Uganda ought to be proud of him and the legacy that he leaves behind. Justice Rubby Opio Aweri decried the apathy and corruption in our institutions. And as we send him off today, we owe him a better nation at the end of our journey. His legacy speaks for itself. We have seen even from his family that while he was one lawyer, out of him, we see many lawyers in his children who will continue to dispense justice to this nation, even as he has done in his life. In his life, he has multiplied himself and has done Uganda better. May the Lord bless Aweri's flight to eternity. May the Lord bless his memory for God and my country. Thank you, Right Honorable.
Thank you so much, the Dean of Independence, and we are talking about the humility in Rubby, the selflessness that he had, the commitment he had to his job, the dedication that Rubby had. And as I said before, I happen to have grown seeing Rubby work, and I used to admire how he used to work. And I'm requesting members, let's have a non-partisan debate. Non-partisan. Let's not bring politics in this debate. We know all of us are politicians, but for today, I beg my brothers and sisters that let's have a non-partisan debate. An amendment to the prayers? First, before we go to the debate. You have amendment? Council, you have amendment? Can we start with council?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, my Lord the Chief Justice, my lords and your worships. I have a small amendment, but before the amendment, can I say something?
In the house here, you only recognize the speaker.
Most obliged, Right Honorable Speaker. I'm in a hard and rock place. Wherever, as a lawyer, the moment I meet a judge. I've taught law for the last 23 years, but all the worships I have to bow. So
We are in Parliament of Uganda. The only person here is the speaker. Can you go ahead with amendment?
Most obliged. Most obliged. Right Honorable Speaker, I have an amendment to make specifically to the resolutions proposed by the Right Honorable Prime Minister. Given his record and legacy, I wish to propose that we recommend to the district administration of his area of birth, at least to pick out a prominent road or building and be named in his after his name. Justice Rubby Aweri, as a person, has been described as a very humble, dedicated, and a gentleman who rose from grade 1 magistrate to the Supreme Court, which is the pinnacle. So his name should just not be wished away and go unrecognized.
Thank
My
you.
prayer and request that this house proposes that a road, a major road, be named in after his name as an amendment.
Is the amendment seconded? Seconded by Honorable Segona, by Macho, by Taylor. An amendment by Tony. Another amendment.
Thank you. Right Honorable
Hansard,
Speaker.
take note.
Right Honorable Speaker, I rise to propose an amendment to the motion moved by the Right Honorable Prime Minister, but allow me first extend my sincere condolences to the family of the late Honorable Justice Rubby Aweri Opio, to judiciary and to the country. Right Honorable Speaker, the Prime Minister has presented a lot of contributions made by the late Honorable Justice Rubby Opio Aweri. And I wish to propose an amendment that Rubby Opio Aweri believed in development of knowledge, in education, in academia. And we cannot speak here and close our books and go. We need his name remain over a long period of time, because he spent 40 years dedicating himself to serve this country diligently. Before the late died, he had a dream to build a modern state-of-art library at his former school, Lango College. And he had started the process of mobilizing resources to build the library. Right Honorable Speaker, I think we only pay the best tribute to the fallen hero here by having government, through Ministry of Education, taking up his dream. And we build a modern high-tech library for public at Lango College School, and that will remain forever and generations. If we can have the name of J.F. Kennedy, Victoria, Queen Victoria, all these other people around, why can't we this time do for our own? We spent 40 years working for this country. Right, Honorable Speaker, I therefore beg to request that Parliament do consider this and make an amendment for government to build an IT state-of-the-art library at Lao College School, where the late Justice Rubby Aweri had already started the process, but he passed on before realizing his dream. And then the library shall be named Justice Rubby Opio Aweri Memorial Public Library. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, the amendment is urging government through Minister of Education to build a state-of-art library at Lango College in the names of Justice Rubby Opio Public Library. Is it seconded? Seconded by Honorable Chan, Honorable Peter, Dokolo, Honorable Vandeke, Flora, Alobo. The whole house has supported it. Can I have commitment from government that you're going to, on the two amendments? Yes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, allow me by my condolences to the family and to the judiciary. On the amendment, Honorable Yusuf raised, the late was a judge of the Supreme Court. For us to localize it to the local administration would be lowering its level. I think he would amend it that government finds it befitting to name a road anywhere in Uganda or in any of the 15 cities in his memory, rather than us localizing. The district local government can do that, but as a national parliament, we should be talking nationally. So, Right Honorable Speaker, I would want us to propose, I would want to propose an amendment that it be amended that way the government finds it befitting to put it anywhere in the country or anywhere in the 15 cities of this country. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Is that
My
seconded?
condolences to the family.
Honorable members, this was a justice of Supreme Court and was for the whole of Uganda, not for only Dokolo. Having a road in Dokolo would be localizing the late. So, Honorable Prime Minister, we have two amendments. That is naming a road. We are not asking for too much.
Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, I would definitely take this in cabinet and we shall consider.
Thank you. Thank you so much, honorable members. And Prime Minister, thank you for accepting to take up our amendment. Can we now open the debate? I want to start with the chairman of DP, the president of DP, government chief whip. I'll start with the front desk. President DP.
Madam Speaker, on Wednesday, 7th December 2022, an illustrious judicial career spanning 39 years came to an end when Justice Rubby Opio Aweri breathed his last. That career saw him serve the High Court for 16 years, the Court of Appeal for about 1 year, and the Supreme Court for 7 years. We all remember his tough stance on corruption in the judiciary when he was named Chief Inspector of Courts from 2017 until his death. I thus count it a great honor to be able to join in paying tribute to Justice Rubby Opio Aweri. I thank you and the Parliament of Uganda, and indeed the entire government of Uganda, for according him due recognition for his distinguished judicial career. Those of us who knew Justice Opio Aweri personally were impressed by his humanity, his capacity for hard work, and his seriousness of purpose. A good judge must be able to cut through to the heart of a dispute and quickly arrive at a well-reasoned and practical resolution. Justice Opio Aweri had that rare ability. If I were to state in one sentence the attributes and characteristics Justice Opio Aweri's track record as a judicial officer shows, and to pick the one thing that all those who have the privilege to serve as judicial officers can learn from him, I would say this: judicial officers should see themselves not as wielders of judicial power and authority, but rather as servants of justice in the broadest possible sense. It's therefore with deep gratitude for the privilege of having known Justice Opio Aweri that I ask God to judge him with mercy as he approaches the throne of grace. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Mao. Honorable members, in the VIP gallery this afternoon, we have Justice Serunkum Isaiah, the resident judge of Masindi. You're most welcome. He has come to join us in paying tribute to Justice Rubby. Most welcome. Join me in welcoming him. Welcome. Still in the public gallery, we have the family members and friends to the late Justice. Kindly just stand up. Stand up and wave. You're almost welcome. This is your parliament. Honorable Bua.
Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, I rise to pay tribute to the late Honorable Justice Rubby Opio Aweri. Right Honorable Speaker, as a former member of the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee under the able leadership of the Honorable Both, the committee who in the last parliament processed on behalf of Parliament the administration of the Judiciary Bill, I wish to thank Parliament of Uganda for passing this particular bill, and His Excellency the President for assenting to this piece of legislation, which is now called the Administration of Judiciary Act. Right Honorable Speaker, in death, the Honorable Justice Rubby Opio Aweri becomes the first recipient and the first test of this piece of legislation. That said, Right Honorable Speaker, at such a moment of grief, I equally rise on behalf of the people of Aweri County in Aleptong District to pay special tribute to the late Honorable Justice Rubby Opio Aweri, a senior and experienced judicial officer who served his motherland, Uganda, with precision. In his professional and career path, in his rise to the level of a justice of the Supreme Court, the track record of the late Honorable Justice Rubby Opio Aweri, from wherever he worked, within and without Uganda, is clean and clear. He has left a legacy. No wonder in his family that you introduced, there are a number of them who are following him. From his worship, maybe in future, they will become their lordship, just like their father who has just passed on. Right Honorable Speaker, I know that the late Honorable Justice Rubby Opio Aweri was an inspiration to many who knew him. He was a father to all. He was a counselor. He was an advisor. He was a consultant, and he was readily available. And one thing that I want to pay special tribute to him, whenever he could hear something about you and someone, he would be humble enough to take his phone and he calls you. That is the gentleman lying before us. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to say that he was a friend to the young, he was a friend to the middle-aged, he was a friend to the poor, he was a friend to the rich, He was a friend to all categories of people. No wonder heaven is looking for good people. That is why God has called him. Maybe me and you, we first have to repent because heaven is looking for good people. And such a good man has been called at 69 years. So, honorable members, my message now is to you and me that before we are called, let's repent and borrow a leaf from the late Honorable Justice Rubby Opio Aweri. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Government Chief Whip. Just a small correction. Justice Seron Kuma is not Isaiah, but he's called Issa. Sorry for that. And still in the public gallery, we have Honorable Okelo Anthony and Honorable Otekat John Emily. Honorable Bahati.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We want to thank you for according Justice Opio Aweri this state funeral according to the law, and I appreciate His Excellency the President for allowing this also to happen. I bring my condolences on behalf of the people of Ndogwa West and the people of Chigezi to the family of Justice Opio Aweri and to the fraternity of the judiciary, to you, the Chief Justice, and all the judiciary. In the week that Justice Rubby Opio Aweri died, which is the last week, we are commemorating the Day of Anti-Corruption, and also we had the National Thanksgiving Day at State House. On that day, Bishop Johnson Tunomucha challenged the nation and to all of us, and he posed the question, what will the world miss if you were not around? What will the world miss if you are not around? In Justice Opio Aweri, we shall miss a lot. We shall miss a hardworking legal profession. We shall miss a non-corrupt justice of the Supreme Court. And also we shall miss a nationalist, a great man who was born in Lango, but has served the nation generally. As we go to Lango tomorrow, we want to thank the people of Dokolo for raising this important person who served us so well. He inspired many people, not only in that region, but also as a country. And today, he joined in history other great people who have served this country from that region. And there's few that I can remember off record. Dr. Milton Obote, can remember Ekure Park, Honorable Ekure Park, who was a great man from that region. I don't know about Owito Joke, but those two come to me in my mind of the contribution they have made. So, Honorable Speaker, on behalf of the people of Ndogwa Western Cavalry, I want to register our condolences to the family and the judiciary. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
Thank you, Daudi. Can we have Honorable Mohos, were you standing? Next.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, colleagues. Right Honorable Speaker, on behalf of the older persons in the whole of Uganda, and on my own behalf, my deepest condolences.
Honorable members are asking who is that? That's Honorable Gidodo, representing the elders. He's a minister for elders.
Right Honorable Speaker, I've spoken several times here. Nevertheless, I'm glad you have noticed me today. As I said, our deepest condolences from the older persons fraternity in Uganda. The family the Lang sub-region, and northern Uganda, the judiciary, and Uganda as a whole. In our older persons fraternity, 69 years, we consider it as middle age for an older person. He has accomplished what he set out to do, his pinnacle being the Supreme Court. Age, Right Honorable Speaker, is a special gift from God. Children, which he had, is another special gift. Long service to your nation is another gift. He served until he had more or less retired. God allowed him to serve longer than shorter. We pray the ancestors receive him with open hands, and may his soul rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members, it is an elder speaking. So when an elder says something, it's final. It's an elder. And he's speaking about another elder who is lying before us. Honorable Oboth, whom I knew the late very well.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. On behalf of the people of Tororo, West Budama Central in particular, and the Bukedi sub-region, we want to extend our sincere condolences and sympathies to the family of Justice Opio Aweri, who worked in Tororo as a magistrate grade 1, who went to school with one of my cousins, George Oburu Akwoyo, who also retired. They went to school together. The judge, whom I came to know while he was still a chief magistrate, and I went to school with his son, and the relationship from law school, we were privileged to, together with Honorable Medad here. I don't know about Honorable Medad's father, but I know about my father, who was not a judicial officer. In fact, my father died the day I arrived in the law school. So I had no way where I could have met George Obong, his worship. I was a son of an old man who died before I graduated, even before I started school. I was privileged indeed to meet a son of, the first person I met, a son of a chief magistrate. To me, that was high ranking. And we sat together, and George took me to their home in Kamwacha. I liked the Mose's humility. He was very humble. So the good things you see in me always, Honorable Medad knows that I copied from him. The bad ones are from Honorable Medad. So the humility speaks volume. Yesterday at his residence in Kawanda, I talked about his service with meekness. Meekness is an attribute below humility. And in this country, many people are humble and meek, are misunderstood, are underrated. People call you names.
Like the speaker, eh?
Like the speaker here.
Yes.
People are meek. A Supreme Court judge picks out a phone, and he calls me. And Honorable Bua, you said rightly, one of the people who were passionately following up on the administration of judiciary bill that time was Justice Opio Aweri. He would tell me his disappointments with us as members of parliament. I would come and try to take them in good faith. He had a very sharp but soft voice. His children, when you see them, I said yesterday, you don't need to do a DNA. And the Honorable Kotogong yesterday, for some reasons known to him, he challenged me whether all my children look like me, like for Justice Opio Aweri. Right Honorable Speaker, I found that very provocative, but for me, here to pay tribute to a humble judge. Lawyers by nature, by training, are supposed to be very arrogant. They are arrogant like Segona. But there are some very humble ones like General Muhozi, and then Council Honorable Yusuf Sebambi, who taught both myself and George Obong. I think, but the point I'm trying to make here is that the profession makes us to, you get to
Honorable
know-
members, I will give you only 2 minutes each. Everybody wants to speak.
I am glad I'm able to tell the stories because I have personally know him. And my tribute is the story I'm telling. If you are getting offended, you can't.
Nobody is offended with your story.
I'm answering.
After all,
somebody.
you're telling us what he was.
Yes, and this is something that most people know. That is now the arrogance I wish had gotten into me to answer. Yeah. Right Honorable Speaker, this country will miss a humble, gentle, very objective man. I know Honorable Cecilia and Honorable Okotogong just recently lost his mother. And on that funeral, I delegated Honorable Cecilia. He's a member of parliament. This country, we need more of humble people. And humility is not weakness. And I want to speak this as I conclude to the children. Some of you, five of you are lawyers. You were lucky to be children of somebody. You have a harder task than me, whose father was not recognized as anybody. You have a legacy to protect his own legacy, and you make your own. Justice Opio Aweri, I know all what you told me. In fact, you said you're a friend of many, including the Speaker of this House. I'm glad that she's presiding over a session that we're paying tribute to you. The journey you've undertaken is a journey of the majority. We are on our way where they were.
Thank you so much for those kind words. Lance. Honorable Obiga Kania.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to join you and the rest to pay my tribute to the Honorable Justice Opio Aweri and pass my condolences to the family. I knew Justice Aweri not under very good circumstances. That time, around 2001, I lost an election. and I had a petition before him. Like anybody else, I expected him to rule in my favor. He didn't. And in my heart, this was a bad man. But immediately after, less than a year, we had some social interactions. There is a trading center called Mijera. When you are going to the north, it is halfway, Gulu, halfway, Arua, and so on. You stop there to rest. And that's where I used to meet him. I asked him, why did you rule against me? No, I couldn't intimidate you anymore because I was not in parliament. But Justice Aweri just looked at me, smiled. He asked me how I was, and he didn't want to answer. He said, let's meet in Kampala and have a chat. From then, I realized that judges have to make a decision. And all the decisions they make are not necessarily in our favor. When we hire lawyers, they have to win us a case, but sometimes they don't. But we continue to make friends with him. Very recently, just about 2 months, about 6 months before this incident, I met him in the same town, Mijera. And when I stopped over, I arrived there before him and he was following me. Then we had a chat. And he told me, do you remember what you asked me here? I said, that was long ago. I'm now different. And he said, yes. And we chatted. And ultimately, what I saw in him was something I would want all of us to emulate. The virtue of humility. Colleagues have spoken here, and many will speak about these virtues. But the unfortunate thing is, we leaders and other Ugandans will leave these virtues here. We will not go out and practice them. That's not a fair tribute. The best tribute we should pay to Aweri and the rest after their death and your own death is to realize your virtues, the values for which you lived. There are many of us who ignore the virtues and struggle for property corruptly. But at the end of the day, nobody mentions anything about your property. What you will leave and you will bestow to your children are the good values, the good virtues that you live for. May those virtues and values of Aweri be a guiding principle for those of us who are still living until when, and not if, we shall die and go where we belong. May the Almighty God rest his soul in eternal peace.
Amen. Thank you so much, Honorable Query. Samuel?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. On my own behalf and on behalf of the people of Moroto County, Aleptong District, whom I represent, I send our heartfelt condolences to the family, the judiciary, and the entire country. Right Honorable, I came into a close interface with the late Justice Rubby Aweri in 2021 after elections. And my victory was being challenged. And I was like a droning person. You're looking for anything to cling on to if you could be saved. And I made a phone call And he received me. He told me, where are you? I told him I'm in the village in Aleptong. So he was like, do you have facts? My facts. He told me, if you have facts, you go to any court, you will get justice. But don't go there with wrong facts. We will be challenged. So I thought that that was the end. But he allowed me to meet him. He gave me a counsel and courage. I learned one thing, and many people have spoken about it here, Right Honorable. Humility. I have tried my best. Copy what I saw in him. And I think I'm still trying to be very humble, though it's not very easy.
Thank you, Samuel. We pray that God gives you that humility that you're looking for. Honorable Katuntu.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for having given me this opportunity to pay tribute and say farewell to a person I've known since 1993. I'm not so sure whether many people knew the late Justice Opio Aweri before 1993. And for that, Right Honorable, if you can give me one more minute other than the 2 minutes. Right Honorable Speaker, I first came to know Justice Opio Aweri in 1993 when he had just been appointed a chief magistrate at Mengo Court. I was a young lawyer at that time, appearing in his court for the first time. He was such a judicial officer who would even mentor young ones. For those who know the judiciary very well, not the local judiciary, let me talk about the outside judiciary, for reasons I'm sure Ma would know. Sometimes judicial officers are very bullying. I'm talking about outside Uganda, not within Uganda. So to have a judicial officer who mentors young ones, even when they are gambling with a case, they are not so sure of their facts and sometimes even the law. Here was a judicial officer trying to mentor young ones, and that's what he did throughout his career. Let any lawyer who appeared before Aweri tell you that. He would even call you back to his chambers and say, no, 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 no. That is not the way a lawyer should behave in a court of law. You would do that. That's the man lying. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. This is the man lying there. But let me say this to the Minister of Justice. When you have somebody who has decided to join the judiciary and he applies for a job of a grade 1 magistrate, his dream ultimately is to become a judge of the Supreme Court. And that's what he did. He rose from grade 1 to Chief Magistrate, High Court, Court of Appeal, and Supreme Court. These days, some of these people are not given the opportunity because there are many people who come outside the judiciary and they are being appointed judges. So the dream of the young people who have joined the judiciary as their dream really is killed. So as you do recommend persons to become judges, keep that in mind, that there are many people whose dream, and it's a path they have chosen to become judicial officers. They should rise from the bottom to the top. It's like, for example, when you see a police officer rising from cadet assistant superintendent of police or up to IGP. I'm sure some of you know the current IGP, Okoso Chola. I knew him was a cadet assistant superintendent of police. He rose through the ranks to become IGP. I've seen armed officers who've risen all the way from officer cadets, captains, all the way to generals.
That is what young people who have chosen a profession dream of. And that's what Judge Opio Aweri achieved. Lastly, I want to thank this House. We struggled so much to have the administration of the Judicial Act passed. It took us 15 years. I remember at that time, it was just Joseph.
Thank you so much. The bottom-top approach in judiciary should apply. Let's not get, because somebody is a son to so and so. Let people grow within the career and become judges. Chairperson, Lango Parliamentary Group, then Honorable Segona.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. On behalf of the people of Kole District and the entire Lango sub-region, we'd like to send our dear condolence to the family, friends, and relatives of the fallen justice. Right Honorable Speaker, a lot has been said about our justice, but I would like to add on that justice rose from the rank of chief magistrate, from magistrate grade 1 up to the level of justice of the Supreme Court. Right Honorable and members of Parliament, this is not an easy thing to take in life. And this one comes as a result of hard work, that somebody has been persistent in his work. So right from the level of magistrate grade 1 up to where he has died and is lying here, he has done a lot to this country. He has mentored so many people, Right Honorable Speaker. He has been a very soft-spoken person. I knew him very well, but very principled. He was dedicated to his work, and here he lies at state. Right Honorable, the late justice did not entertain corruption in any form. He was an open-minded person. He didn't receive any bribe. And I know that now that he has died, God is also happy with him. Yes, because he did his work as a judge diligently.
Council Segona, thank you so much, Chairperson.
Right Honorable Speaker, thank you very much for this opportunity. I want to thank and join colleagues in support of the Right Honorable Prime Minister, and I support this motion to the fullest. Like many other colleagues have talked about Justice Opio Aweri, and like Jacob both honorable said, I came into contact with him in 1997 in September through our colleague and his son, now his worship, George Abong. When I met George, we gave each other names. I remember giving him the name Mukasa, and I became Ojok. And that's when I became more Luo than Norbert Mao. We have lived therefore together as brothers, and I agree with Jacob both when he said that some attributes he learned from me. I've always said, and now he has confirmed that he was reading my notes, but he chose to read them the wrong way, and that's why he only picked the bad. For George Bong, who read them the right way, you can see where he is in the judiciary. Through George, I met Justice Opio Aweri, and he became my father. And he would always refer to me as his son. As Honorable Boss said, whenever he had something about you, he would pick his phone and call you. I remember with fond memories in the year 2001, at around 8 o'clock, I received a phone call from him. And I was so concerned when he told me what he had heard about me. I pleaded my case and pleaded innocence. And I did not know that he had actually understood my case. I ran to the Chief Justice for intercession. And the CJ asked me, what did you conclude with him? I said, he said it's okay with him. He has understood my point. Then he said, you do not need an intercessor. When we speak about the dead, we are not talking to them. We are talking to the living. And at this point, I want to associate myself with all the words of the leader of the opposition. We are now speaking to the living, in not only in the judiciary, but in our institutions. Do the right thing. The right thing will do the rest for you. He has died a dignified judge. We shall miss him. Honorable colleagues, he dies, Right Honorable Speaker, at a time when we are grappling with abductions and human rights abuses. It's a fact, we must deal with it. And there is nobody to address it other than the judiciary. In paying tribute to this fallen gentleman, the only way he can be rewarded is by doing the right thing at the right time. I pray that the Almighty God rests his soul in eternal peace. I thank you.
Thank you. Woman MP. The woman MP, Dokolo.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you for allowing me to make a comment, to pay my tribute to my brother and mentor. Right Honorable Speaker, one of the things which has not come out so far is that Justice Opio Aweri was full of jokes. Every time he meets you, he starts by joking. So all the time he asks me why I keep winning elections. So the last time I met him, I also decided to pull a joke, but he didn't like it very much. I asked him, why are you as a judge continue to promote fraud? So he got shocked. And Right Honorable Speaker, one thing you don't know is that he's called Opio Aweri, but it should be Aweri Opio. It is his father who is Opio. He is the one who is Aweri. Now he has continued to be his father, and his father continued to be his son. So that one did him knocked him off completely. So he was not able to joke with me anymore. Right Honorable Speaker, I cannot speak about his efficacy in his profession because I've never been fortunate enough to learn about law or to practice it. But one thing I know, as a politician who has been on the ground for a long time, there are two things we need to remember, my brother. For one, in his practice of law, he maintained one thing, equal opportunity. One of the things that we Langi will remember, Right Honorable Speaker, we Langi will remember is that there is a blind man who actually did law and graduated in law, but could not be accepted to work as a magistrate. Justice Opio Aweri followed this man, and today, as I speak, is working in the registrar's office and is practicing the passion of his heart. He is very passionate about equal opportunity. The man is a blind man, but he's going to be probably one of the few judges who are blind in the future. Right Honorable Speaker, during COVID time, Justice Opio Aweri was distributing posho and beans. So when they said distributing posho and beans was illegal, I joked, I gave a call to him and I said, they are saying you are not a procurement officer, you are not supposed to distribute beans and posho. And he said, the good thing, it will come to the bench and we'll sort it out. Right Honorable Speaker, finally, allow me to say this. Justice Opio Aweri, in his humility, was a giant. He was fearless. In 2019, some of us who cherish democracy, Justice Opio Aweri with his colleagues was able to order government to table the law reform for election in 1 month. If you remember, in June 2019. So I plead with members of parliament that we should remember this man to make sure that we increase funding for the judiciary. They cannot perform unless we increase funding to the judiciary. I want to thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Ms. Uganda. Maybe the cases are not being heard because there is less funding. So once we increase the funding, the issues will be sorted out that was raised by the leader of opposition. Dokolo North. Dokolo North.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Colleagues, Justice Aweri Opio is and remains the most senior distinguished citizen in my constituency. They were competing with Imat Cecilia, but I'm sure she agrees that has her age. But now, since he's gone, possibly that distinction will be with her. I also want to take the opportunity, as Member of Parliament of Doholo, where it comes from, to thank government for giving him this special send-off as by law established. Thank you very much, and I want to pass this message through the speaker to reach His Excellency the President for that. Allow me also mention a few things. I'll not also go on law because he was a person who would summon me and tell me this constituency is not being run well. Do the following. And I want to pass the few messages because it may also affect you, may learn from it. He told me the issue of price, says the prices are very high. What are we going to do? But in the discussion, thank you. When the prices are high, you have an option either to pay the high price or receive the value of the high price. So you have to choose which side you must be. So he said, Dokolo North, we must choose the side of receiving the high price. Leave others who are complaining and concentrate on ensuring that our people receive the high price and the high price of production so that we get more money. That's a big message I thought I should pass to my colleagues. The other, allow me, is related to employment. He mentioned, and everybody will mention here, that he has supported so many people to have education. However, the people he has supported, he expected them to also support others. But he was disappointed that even those he supported, some are not even employed. So his solution was, education is not enough to enable you have good life. You should have skills on top of education. So his argument is, let's work on skills, particularly on the issues which we have agriculture. Go look for high value products, get good breeds, things like that. Train people so that our people become better. Lastly, his family is a great one. Right Honorable Speaker, allow me to recognize, particularly his son, the one that I've said, the worship. Obong, one, he was so strong in remotely helping me to win my elections. Remotely.
Never declare your people. And by the way, Honorable Segona, Joe, you gave me a very wrong name. Or joke. Do you know what a joke means? Yeah, wait. Alum. Honorable Alum.
Thank you so,
Honorable Alum.
thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to pay tribute to the late Justice Rubby Opio Aweri. Right Honorable Speaker, the late Justice was a hobby to my mother. They went to the same primary school in Aguada Primary School. And what surprised me, Right Honorable Speaker and members, is that he was able to connect to my mother, even when she stopped at a very low level. Right Honorable Speaker, what kind of a man are we paying tribute to? How many of us connect to the lowly in our societies? Right Honorable Speaker, whenever they would meet, they would only speak English. And their English was called Aguada Primary English. And it was so conk, Right Honorable Speaker. Madam Speaker, I also would like to pay tribute and made mention that he was an environmentalist. We used to go to the same bank and he encouraged me to grow trees. Now I have over 10,000 trees that I've planted arising from the advice that he gave me. And faced with these environmental challenges, Right Honorable Speaker, I would like us to emulate this very important activity that he was doing. Finally, Right Honorable Speaker, I want to talk about the virtue of humility. Right Honorable Speaker, if there is something that the late can be remembered for, is humility. He was so humble to the extent that he would relate and socialize to the lowly in all our communities. A case in example was when I went to Tuke district. I found the local people.
Chairman, Teso Parliamentary.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. It's such a dark moment for our nation that I rise up here to pay tribute to Justice Opio Aweri. I've personally gone to school with the children of Justice Opio Aweri, particularly my colleague, His Worship Solomon. We're together at law school. But one aspect which is so captivating, your Right Honorable Speaker, is the aspect of environment. When I looked at, he had done a master's in environment, and he did not leave it at that. Even in his decisions in court, if he handled such a case, you'd be able to see the knowledge and how he cared for the common person. Permit me read this in one of the cases that he handled, and that is the Miscellaneous Cause number 100 of 2004, Advocates Coalition for Development Environment versus Attorney General. It was decided in Kampala, and was handling the issue of the permit that was granted to Kakira Sugar in the Butamira Forest Reserve. This is how he came to the rescue of that forest. He made reference to a quotation of an Indian Supreme Court case where he said that man is both a creature and mold of his environment, which gives him physical sustenance and afford him with the opportunity for intellectual, moral, social, and spiritual growth. In the long and tortuous evolution of the human race on this planet, a stage has been reached when, through rapid acceleration of science and technology, man has acquired the power to transform his environment in countless ways, and on an unprecedented scale, both aspects of man's environment, of the enjoyment of the basic human rights, even the right to life itself. He emphasized and said, it is the Attorney General, that is government, has its constitutional duty to conserve the environment and natural resources equitably for the benefit of both the present and the future generation. That is the living judge we are talking about. He allowed all the reliefs, saved the forest. I said it is for the benefit of us today and tomorrow. I want to agree with my sister, Honorable Santa, that the planting of trees is what has lived through him. Can we as members of parliament and as Uganda as a country go ahead and save our environment as a living testimony for our justice? Thank you. Right Honorable.
Thank you so much. In memory of Justice Rubby, each of you should go and plant at least 10 trees. Let's go and plant trees. Let's be the example of the rest. Olympian.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. On behalf of people of Otuke and I, Rites support the motion on Justice Opio Aweri. Honorable Speaker and members, for some of you might have not known this gentleman today who has gone very well. In 2016, I met him in Otuke. He's from Dokolo. From Otuke to Dokolo is about 150 kilometers away. I found him. He has a garden there, and I also had a garden. I was surprised, and then I said, Honorable Justice, how comes you don't have a bodyguard? You have friends in Kampala there. They're carrying bodyguards. It's like the medals that we win in Olympics. I joke with him, he laughed, he said, John, you see, when you're a simple man, wrong thing does not happen on you. But when you begin to carry this security guard like the medals you're talking about, that's when the wrong people follow you. So, Honorable Speaker, this gentleman, he would drive without a security guard by himself. This is one of the things I feel when you remain simple, I think God becomes your bodyguard and nothing would happen. And I want to urge you, we as a member of parliament, I think let's raise our children in a good way, not in the other way around. And I joked with him, I said, you know, there are cattle keepers around here. Don't let them make your names to judge you again here. And then you remain here because the name judge we call an all cop.
Thank you, Ochen. Council Yusuf. Ochen, then Council Yusuf behind. Chairman of Parliament Legal.
Council Yusuf. Thank you. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Ochen first, then Council Yusuf.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I rise to pay tribute to Honorable Justice Rubby Opio Aweri on behalf of the people of Kole South and also on behalf of the all boys and girls of UCC at Duku. Right Honorable Speaker, I stand to speak here because of the late who is lying before us here. Rubby, Justice Rubby Aweri taught us in UCC at Duku and many other people in this country. When he was teaching, he used to give us small cases. And when you judge the case very well, he jokes with you and say you're a small magistrate. And he was very friendly to all the students. Justice Rubby Aweri has been a father, advisor, and an elder who cares for all. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to urge that the death of Justice Rubby Opio Aweri should also be a mark stone for other people who does good job and are still living to be praised while they are still living. Because we have some good practice men and women in this country who are still doing the job.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, 15 years ago, I was enrolled as an advocate. And the first time I appeared before High Court, I appeared before Justice Opio. And when people are talking about humility, I'm here to testify. You know, having practiced for almost a year before a Chief Magistrate's Court, we're used to his worship, your worship. You appear before a judge and you're still saying your worship. Other judges would get offended. But his lordship kept on saying, Counsel, I understand. You've just come from Chief Magistrate's Court and you're still thinking you're still before. You'll get used. But to other judicial officers, that will be an offense. That is one. Two, I was quoting a decision of one of the deceased judges. And I said in the decision of so he said, Counsel Mutembuli, judges don't die. When you're quoting, just say just so, don't say late. It's not necessary. So he was not just only a judge, but would keep on teaching us, like Counsel Senior Abdul Katun said. Is a gentleman who would not back at you, but would educate you, would counsel you, and that is why I'm sure all the advocates who appeared before him for the first time enjoyed the practice. There are judges that you can appear if you're still new and you regret why you're an advocate. They are there in Uganda here. They will tell you if you're not ready.
You first finish that one.
Yes, Honorable Speaker, what I was saying is that there are judges that keep on bullying and teasing the young advocates. That's on record. That you appear before certain judge and you're referring to a judge as your worship, that judge will get offended. Okay? But this gentleman lying here, because of his humility, he will tell you, please, Counsel, I understand you've just been practicing before this and the other. So my appeal to the judicial officers, especially the judges, please give opportunity to these younger men, because for the last 1 year they've been used to worships and so on. I appeared in a matter in Court of Appeal, and I don't know what has happened to this particular advocate. He addressed one of the judges as your worship. The judge said, please, can you get out of my court? And the matter was adjourned just because this particular advocate, I think maybe had appeared before Chief Magistrate severally and so on, was used to that. So I think because of humility, we should be patient. We should give opportunity to some of these younger men so that we mentor them. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, judicial officers. Let's emulate Justice Rubby and support and help our young officers. Dokolo.
Madam Speaker and all members of Parliament, I rise to support the motion to pay tribute to my uncle, Honorable Justice Rubby Aweri Opio, Justice of the Supreme Court. Honorable members, would like to inform you that the justice lying before us here is my uncle, and we loved him so much, and we still continue loving him even in death. Madam Speaker and all members of Parliament, we as a family, we are proud that he served this nation with utmost distinction. And it makes us proud as a family. Honorable members, Justice Aweri Opio should minister to us today, all leaders. He's a man that was very simple. But in his simplicity, there was a strong will behind it, strong mind behind it. Very intelligent, very humble. And that's the character I want all members of Parliament to emulate.
I know most members of parliament here, once they step on this floor in the parliament, they rarely pick calls from ordinary people. They rarely talk to ordinary people. They rarely walk on the street with ordinary people. They jump in their cars, close the windows, and they're always not with the ordinary people. Let's emulate the character of my uncle. Madam Speaker, my uncle loved these children very much. And he loved education because in was the only weapon to destroy poverty. And he educated his children, and most of them, I can see a lawyer, 5 lawyers in his family. An engineer with a PhD engineering and lecturing in America, in Canada. That is why we want to remember him and thank him for all that efforts. Madam Speaker, he loved people. He loved promoting peace. He was a peacemaker. He was a peace builder and a peace promoter. So these are all virtues that we need to emulate. Madam Speaker, as I end, my uncle loved the environment. He planted close to 300,000 trees. And not only in Lango, but everywhere. So let us plant trees in his memory. He also encouraged me. Right now I have over 200,000 trees. And before I die, I pray to God to reach 1 million trees. That will be my contribution to this environment, to my country. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Maxwell. Then Council Taylor. Maxwell.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to pay tribute to our departed son, brother, and elder, the Honorable Justice Rubby Aweri Opio. Honorable Speaker, as a judicial officer, Justice Aweri Opio was calm, was quiet, was
Ochieng, you don't finish and you leave others here. Wait for the question. Come back.
Justice Aweri was quiet, was calm, was unassuming. He dispensed his judicial duties with dedication. As they say, justice must not only be done, but be seen to be done. In all the tributes that have been paid here, it's evident that none of his decisions were doubted. Many times, Right Honorable Speaker, judicial officers make illogical decisions to the extent that as political actors might take steps, as was recently done by the Prime Minister, to address an unfortunate judicial decision. So I want to pay tribute to the fairness, the humility, the dedication, the call of service that Justice Aweri Opio exuded as a judicial officer. As a son of Lango, he was a respected member of our community. He served us in many capacities, in education, in religious matters, traditional matters, and also as an environmentalist. He was my neighbor and my friend in Lira. I had the opportunity to meet him on several occasions. One of the things I want to reiterate here was his humility, that my own house boy, who used to spend a lot of his time at Justice Opio Aweri's residence in Lira. First of all, his home in Lira is not fenced. He would walk around the compound, he would walk around the environment, he would escort
my house help from his house to my residence. The distance is about 300 meters, unaccompanied by any security official. Justice Opio Aweri served this country well. I want to call upon government to strengthen the independence of the judiciary, to review the tenure of judicial officers. That as a judicial officer at the age of 69, Justice Opio Aweri died before his prime. I know that judicial officers at that level retire at the age of 70. In many jurisdictions, there's no age limit, both in the judiciary and in the executive. Just as we remove the age limit in the executive, let us remove the age limit in the judiciary so that we can build on the expertise, we can build on the good virtues that experience and maturity brings to the service of our nation. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Bong. Honorable members in the public gallery this afternoon, we have a delegation from Kalaki District Local Government, represented by Honorable Lobo, Chom Joan, and Honorable Ayo Jennifer. That's Ms. Adiokot Grace. Please stand up. And Ms. Aliek Daniela, you're most welcome. Thank you for coming. Council Taylor.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for granting me an opportunity to pay tribute to a very noble gentleman in the name of Justice Opio Rubby Aweri. Right Honorable Speaker, in my career as a private legal practitioner, my first time to appear before a panel of judges in the Court of Appeal, Justice Rubby Opio Aweri was presiding. I must attest that the first time is always a very amazing experience. But I thank the man lying straight over there for the good mentorship that he accorded me through my very first time of appearance before a panel. And I stood out strong and proud for having joined the bar. Right Honorable Speaker, in his tour of duty as the Inspector of Courts, on several occasions, Justice Opio Rubby Aweri decried the state of our court premises in this country, especially the lower courts. And it's still a very challenging issue in this country. While we pay tribute to the gentleman lying before us, it is prudent that we do not lower the bar that he had wished to set up in terms of establishing dignifying court premises, especially for our lower judicial officers. It should be a duty that we must maintain as those who are still here in accomplishment of the good job he started. Right Honorable Speaker, I second the motion in paying tribute to a very amiable gentleman, a man of decorum, a man of professional repute, a man of
Thank you so much, Honorable Taylor. Dorcas.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Let me thank the Prime Minister for moving this motion for the resolution of Parliament to pay tribute for our gallant son, Justice Rubby Aweri Opio. On behalf of the people of Aleptong and on my own behalf, we condole with the family, the judiciary, and the entire legal fraternity and the community of Lango and Greater North. This is our second gallant son that within this year, a difficult year 2022, we are paying tribute to, who will be lying in state in this parliament. Right Honorable Speaker, allow me commend His Excellency the President and the government of Uganda for according our son state funeral. This is testament in honor of the service that he has provided to this nation. For that, we say thank you. Right Honorable Speaker, the man lying before us has been a great icon in this country in many ways. He was able to dispense justice without fear of favor, as has already been testified by so many members, and I wouldn't want to reiterate anything in that regard. But this is the man that we are talking about. The man that in many ways encouraged and inspired so many of us and the young people of this country by walking the talk. This is the man who has been able to uphold judicial ethics and integrity in this country. The man who has been able to display foundational competencies and virtues of commitment.
Thank you. Whatever we are doing here is not a favor to judiciary. It is pursuant to Section 23 of Administration of the Judiciary Act and Schedule 3. So you must thank yourselves as Parliament too for implementing the law to the letter. You must thank yourselves as Parliament of Uganda. Dr. Pear.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I bring my condolence from the people of Amolatar and the Lango sub-region, the bereavement of our own, and we want to thank everyone for standing with the family and the people of Lango. Right Honorable Speaker, the Justice Aweri Opio has demonstrated to us that we can be anything from the humble beginning, as long as the environment that we work in is conducive to our career growth. And I want to thank in a special way the judicial system that nurtured the justice and recognized his profession and allowed him to practice his profession in a practical environment. Right Honorable Speaker, the career of the justice shows us two things: practice versus professionalism. We have so many Ugandans who are highly professional, but we rarely practice and we are rarely given an opportunity to showcase our potential in this country. We've just heard today that he's an environmental lawyer and he practiced it through planting the trees. And he was also given an opportunity to practice whatever he studied. Right Honorable Speaker, in the Prime Minister's submission, she made mention that justice did not have the issues of backload of cases that is always very rampant in this country, meaning he increased access to justice and delivering justice as well to our vulnerable community. I was privileged to
Rita, Xavier.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise to pay tribute and support the motion as moved by the Prime Minister. And in these words, I say, as quoted by Cornwell, that never forget that justice is what love looks like in the public, and that truth never damages a cause that is just. Love is a powerful moral force on the side of justice. Right Honorable and colleagues, I've read through some of the cases that the justice handled that involve gender-based violence, and some of which actually culminated into loss of life of one of the spouses. It was dealt with meticulously. And when you read the verbatim, some of his judgments, you really feel the humility that everyone was talking about here. But also particularly in this time when we just concluded the 16 days of activism, the International Human Rights Day, and adding that he is one person that did not have lots of backlog on his desk. I do pay tribute in that manner, that means many of the survivors of gender-based violence received justice from his desk. If you're raped and you have got to walk 7 years seeking for justice, even when it's delivered too late, it does not mean anything. So farewell thee, the gallant son, Justice Rubby. May you rest well.
Thank you, Rita Savia.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. On behalf of Uganda North and Angola Sub-Region, I want to take this opportunity to support the motion for resolution of Parliament paying tribute to the Right Honorable Justice Rubby Aweri Opio, Justice of the Supreme Court. Right Honorable Speaker, many have talked about the Honorable Justice. We are seeing the Honorable Justice who went through all ranks from grade 1 magistrate up to the Honorable Justice of the Supreme Court. We cannot just take it for granted. Aware that he was serving in an environment with a lot of hiccups. So we will dearly and greatly miss him, and we are sending our condolences and sympathies to the family, the judiciary, the legal fraternity, and the entire nation. And therefore, it is worth it that we actually pay tribute to the Honorable Justice, not because of his humility, not because of his gentility, not because of his dedicated service, not because of his humbleness, but rather because of all those. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
Thank you. Peter.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to thank the Prime Minister for bringing this motion. The Justice Rubby Aweri Opio, I got to know him through his family that has been serving this nation and the country dedicatedly. The Saturday before he passed on Wednesday, on Saturday, I went to see him at Mulago because I was interacting with his son, his worship, George Odong, who serves in West Nile. I want to agree with the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs that Rubby was a servant of justice. And he served this country so well through action. When you look at his records of humility, it is a record that every leader in this country should be able to emulate if you want a Uganda that everybody will enjoy. Two, he served by teaching us what to do. When you look at his family that was being introduced here, he paid the sacrifice of educating his children, putting resources in his family so that the family can be able to do good for this country. As we speak here, thousands of Ugandans are benefiting from his works, from the school fees he paid, from the trees he planted. When you go to the region of Lango and you look at the trees, you cannot attribute it to anybody else before you attribute it to justice, because he has taught honorable members of parliament here how to plant trees. And his humility of picking calls to talk to
Honorable Baba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker and honorable members, all along, I thought Justice Opio Aweri was from Teso until his death. It was not until
Actually, Justice Opio Aweri was from Teso. We just lent him to Lango.
I don't know. Madam Speaker, not until his son, who is the DPC in Koboko, District Police Commander, called each one of us. Called Dr. Yume, called Dr. Ate Sharifa, called me, say, my father has died. I said, but you,
this man is from Lango, from Teso. How come you are saying is your father? He said, no, that's my father. So I said, are you also from Lango? When I thought all along you were from Teso. He said, Baba, I'm from Lango. I'm from Dokolo. Now, the only people I knew from Dokolo were these notorious guys, the Cecilio Guas, the Okoto Gongs. Now, we have had this testimony of a humble and very outstanding performance in his career. So I want to pay tribute to the judicial system for enabling Justice Opio Aweri to rise through the ranks up to the top. And he in turn paid back by acknowledging merit, by acknowledging excellency throughout his life. Madam Speaker, Honorable Oboth talked about his brand name. Just 1 minute. I can testify that this son of his, Samuel Abwang, who is the DPC Koboko, is living that name. Very humble, very hardworking, outreaching. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
Thank you so much from Elder and the notorious Cecilia. Wopa.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. On behalf of the people of Tororo and on my own behalf, I do convey my condolences to the family and to the people of Dokoro. I know my sister is close to one of the sons who is a known surveyor. When there was an enigma, she's actually the one who confirmed that he had not passed on after calling the son. Right Honorable Speaker, it's important for people to rise ranks to the top in such technical areas like the judiciary. And he has meant so many as a result of that. Right Honorable Speaker, because of his love for the environment, he had to do a master's in law. And in one of his presentations, Right Honorable Speaker, he said that man cannot survive without the environment. And because the environment is important to mankind, we use the law to protect the environment. Little wonder that in cases that were before him, where there were clear facts, he always ruled in favor of those cases. And Right Honorable Speaker, one of the things that he did say in the case of Mutamira Forest was that we all have a right to a healthy environment. But the right to health does not only stop at physical health. And he did state that courts of law should be slow in awarding costs in matters of public interest. So I hope that this can be taken seriously. When we have such cases of public interest before courts, costs should not be awarded so that it can encourage others to actually go to the courts of justice.
Honorable Mara Paul.
Rest in peace.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I would like, on behalf of the people of Otuke and on my personal behalf, to express our deep condolences to the family for the passing of our elder. Right Honorable Speaker, the late Justice was my closest neighbor in Lira City. His home and mine is only a distance of 100 meters. And every holiday, we would have time to exchange views about the country and about the environment. People have talked a lot about his humility. One morning, Right Honorable Speaker, I heard somebody knocking at my door very early at around 7 a.m. And when I walked out, who did I see? It was the late Justice, and he was actually bare feet. He had walked from his house to see me. And when I asked him, I said, why are you bare feet? He said, you know, it's very therapeutic. And that was the man, very simple in all ways.
Secondly, Right Honorable Speaker, he was a family man and educated all his children well and mentored them. No wonder 5 of them are lawyers, just like him. And each one of them has been successful in their own careers. Maybe it's a challenge to us as parents. What are we to our children and how far are we grooming them? As an environmentalist, Right Honorable Speaker, he has farms everywhere in Lango and actually sub-region. He has one in Utuke. He's been planting trees. And I think in terms of our efforts towards having a better climate, I think we need to take this initiative of planting trees. And finally, Right Honorable Speaker, the lawyers here, his judgment has been legendary. And I think it has gone down into the annals of our courts and has improved dramatically our jurisprudence. And I know that the future lawyers and judges will quote him in a good way. I want to thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's about parenting. Ask yourself, are you a good parent? Will you be like Rubby? Do you even know where your kids are? Do you even talk to them? Where have they reached? Parenting. Jonathan? And actually, do you know how many children you have?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to pay tribute to the late Justice Rubby Opio Aweri, our elder who had gained respect, had gained a lot of respect amongst the people of Lango. Madam Speaker, when I was growing up, we used to see Justice Aweri move through our village to his home. So since then, we have been following him. And that time, it was very easy to know the number of vehicles that are moving. So we could see and know Justice Aweri is coming. He was so kind enough to stop and greet us, the children, and give us a lift of about 200 meters and ask you that go back home. That is how good he was then. The records of this house must then show that Justice Aweri laid foundation for courts that are going to be established at our sub-county level. When he was in the judiciary, he ensured that all the sub-counties in this country are mapped and that those courts at some point in future would be having magistrate to dispense justice. That means that justice was his passion. He wanted to see it during his time. God did not grant him the opportunity, but I believe with the support of this parliament, we should be able to give the judiciary money so that our cases and our people can then be helped. Madam Speaker, I was looking at the records. 39 years of service means that except if I don't know any other person working for government, serving judicial officer, and by extension, the longest serving public servant. And that now tickles my mind to reflect, and I want to invite Honorable Mao to work on this. People are so fascinated about breaking records in this country. Sometimes we have been asking, why has this one overstayed? Maybe Justice Aweri had served 39, and that person also wants now to go to 39. And if he reaches 40, I ask Honorable Mao to work on a modality so that we can then retire that record when it is broken at 40. I thank you very much.
Thank
May
you.
his soul rest in the
Honorable
eternal peace.
Lobo. Honorable Lobo. Honorable Lobo Nelson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I stand here to bring the condolences of my people of Kyoga North in the Molatar district. Madam Speaker, the person who is lying before us here, I can easily describe him like a person who is down to earth. Justice Rubby, when you see him in Kampala here in his chambers, and you meet him in Lira, or in Kachung, you will not know this one is a judge. The few humble people in northern Uganda we have, one of them is this. Another one is behind you there. If you hear Windolo is making bricks for making the church, those are the type of humble people we have. And I want to employ the members of parliament that let's get time and go
You
and
have
help.
forgotten, Mao.
Let me mention two for today. I wanted to employ the members of parliament here. That now that Honorable Owendolo, Chief Justice, is here, we should help him build that church and finish. I know we are going to get money soon. Let's contribute and help him. Madam Speaker, the time I know Justice Opio better was the time the president visited me in 2010. And they went around with my name that this young boy I got in Amolatar has just poverty.
Nelson. Okello Nelson.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me an opportunity. Right Honorable Speaker, on behalf of people of Maruji North County and on my own behalf, I rise also to support the motion to eulogize our gallant elder who has passed on. Right Honorable Speaker, I knew the late through his children. Two of his sons have been my best friends. And one of them is my colleague in profession, an engineer like me also. Right Honorable Speaker, biblically, people ask, is death a good thing or a bad thing? To some extent, people say death is bad because it makes you to miss a dear one. But to some extent, Right Honorable Speaker, death is good. Death is good because it makes you to change in form. Right Honorable Speaker,
Honorable members, that's a maiden speech, please.
Yes, Right Honorable Speaker was saying, scholars say death is good or bad. Yes, I was basically, there are three things. The first one, you change form physically. The second one,
Thank you. There's never been any good death. Death has never been good to anybody. However old or whichever, even if you're old like Cecilia, death is death. Enos.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to take this opportunity to
After Enos, Opio, someone.
I want to support the motion to pay tribute to the late justice. Personally, I will confirm I've never interfaced with him during his life, but a quick look at what is written about him. You pick two attributes, an attribute of commitment to service and an attribute of patience. Somebody who was a legal assistant in 1982 until 2015 when he became a justice of the High Court. That tells you how patient he has been and how committed he has been to the cause of serving his country. I want to use this opportunity to call upon all servants of people and this government. When we get opportunities to serve our country, let us not make irrational decisions. Let us not get involved in corrupt tendencies as if the world is ending tomorrow or as if we have no duty in the future. We should take a leaf from his life and get to know that the world is going nowhere, but service and legacy are more important than what we accumulate during the time of the service. I want the Almighty God to rest his soul in eternal peace.
Thank you, Samuel.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. On behalf of the people of Kole North, I rise to pay tribute to the late Justice Opio Aweri. I came to make first contact with Justice Opio Aweri 1 year ago in a very unusual place. It was under a mango tree that was acting as a restaurant where he had gone to eat local dishes in Lira City itself. And I joined him there. Most times, the usual place to meet a judge is when your case is being mentioned in court or when you're receiving your sentence. I was so humbled by that observation. And when I asked him, he told me two things. Using the example of a tree as an environmentalist, he said that no matter how high a tree grows, its roots will always remain in the ground. And indeed, he lived the life of a tree. His roots remained deep-rooted to the values, even as he rose high in the ranks of the judiciary. The second thing he told me is that let the leader in you stay in your heart, but never let the leader in you get into your head. That is the Justice Opio Aweri I knew. And under the mango tree, I ate from his plate of wisdom and drank from his cup of humility. He was a mountain of humility, a sea of wisdom, and a fountain of selfless service. What I can say is that he was not just one of a kind. He was not just one of a season. He was one of a generation. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
Honorable Atkins.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. On behalf of the Rwenzori sub-region, behalf of Kasese, and on behalf of the Rwenzori Kingdom, and on my own behalf, I really want to extend my deepest condolences, first of all, to the family, to the Chief Justice, and to you, Madam Speaker, and to the President, and to the entire country, my fellow citizens. Mr. Chief Justice, August 27, 2020, I had the honor to interview you for the job of Chief Justice. The speaker then said, we want to do things differently. Atkins, you're gonna interview the Chief Justice. And then Honorable Moses Vallejo, you're gonna interview the Deputy Chief Justice. And that was in the conference center. Mr. Chief Justice, I interviewed you, myself alone, and scored you. And it was upon the report that I submitted that the president gave you the job. And one of the things that I remember sharing with the Chief Justice was the backlog. Mr. Chief Justice, the reason why I'm bringing that up is because the Honorable Justice Opio made clearing or downscaling. Madam Speaker, just one minute, Madam Speaker, just 1 minute.
Honorable members, so many people have debated on this matter, and the House is in unison in regards to the humility of the Justice Rubby or Aweri Opio. I have just been corrected today. Aweri Opio. My Muko, I wish you could sit. His selflessness in service, the good parent in him. And of course, when you look at the Bible says, we shall know them by their deeds. And we've seen him by his deeds. He has done all what we are talking about. And as we've said, that we do work for humanity. And when you work for humanity, you must leave societies better than the way you found them. And we are glad today that the person lying before us here has left society has left judiciary better than the way it was, and we must thank God for that. And the legacy that he has left behind. In our culture, once you leave children, you've not died. And he has left a good legacy behind. All of us can talk good about Justice Aweri Opio from morning to sunset. And you've all heard the testimonies, left, right, center, and judiciary who will empower you to do your work, but you must do what is right at all times. We are not saying you're doing wrong, but do what is meant of you to do. The independence must be promoted, and we'll always support you as Parliament. We work together. We complement each other. We are not competitors, but we are there for each other. And based on that, members, I now put a question that the House adopts a motion of resolution of Parliament to pay tribute to the late Justice Rubby Aweri Opio, a Supreme Court judge, pursuant to section 23 and Schedule 3 of Administration of Judiciary Act 2020 with amendments. Those in favor say and the contrary, nay. The ayes have it. Thank you so much, members. Honorable members, when we're in the House, don't come late and you want to speak, because some of us have been sitting here from morning, from 2 up to this time. So when you walk in and you think you want to talk, that one won't work. Let's have respect for everybody. Yes.
National anthems in reverse order. May we rise, please? May we remain standing as the casket is wheeled out of the chamber.
The body will lie in state, and kindly members, remember to stay around, plus the family.
Please resume your seats.
Honorable members, I want to thank you for today and thank you for paying tribute to Justice Rubby Aweri. We have work at committee levels. I ask the members to make sure that you finish all the work that is before your committee, all the bills before committees. And because of limited work in the house, insufficient work in the house, I therefore adjourn the house. And in case we don't meet before Christmas, I wish you a Merry Christmas. But I adjourn the house and dine.